Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with another Pokemon Sword and Shield moveset video guide on how to use Eiscue. If you guys missed any of my previous moveset video guides or want to check out my Showdown lives where I feature these Pokemon, feel free to check out the playlist down below. Anyway, Eiscue is an Ice-type Pokemon, and that's not usually the best on defensive, but for offense it can be pretty cool, especially when paired with coverage. Unfortunately for this Pokemon, it doesn't have the best coverage, but it does have two things going for it. The ability Ice Face, which is basically a substitute for physical type attacks, and the fact that regenerates in hail, and the fact that it has belly drum. So belly drum is actually pretty cool because when it goes for belly drum, it maximizes its attack stat, and it has a few moves that it can abuse, at least in the standard metagame right now, though I do think that this Pokemon will be way better in lower tiers when they do come out. So the first set we have right here is a Belly Drum, Icicle Crash, Zen Headbutt, and Liquidation set with the Citrus Berry. So the way Eiscue works is basically when your face is broken, you become the no ice face Eiscue. So basically you become a bigger penguin, and that penguin actually has 130 base speed compared to the 50 base speed that Eiscue has. So the idea is you want to send an Eiscue on a physical attacker and belly drum as long as you're faster after. You want to belly drum in their face as they break your face, essentially, and then you become this way faster penguin with base 130 speed and +6 attack because of the belly drum. So we have Icicle Crash because that is our main stab. I think this Pokemon kind of needs that even if it gets the +6, just because it's really weak, only 80 base attack. And we have Liquidation as well to deal with the fire types that the ice types are going to, or that the ice types will be not very effective on, and obviously doing neutral on a lot of steel types. And then we have Zen Headbutt, and if you are using this Pokemon in the OU tier, you definitely want to use Zen Headbutt as an ability to deal with Toxapex. Now this Pokemon has some really unique attributes, I feel, because Ice Face regenerates in Hail. If you use like a Dynamax Ice move while this Pokemon sub is broken, you will go back to the Ice Face versus the no ice one. And I'll have a little clip, I believe, that will show you how exactly I mean in the background. But it's really interesting because that can be a good and bad thing. It can be good because obviously you could take an extra hit. It can be bad though because you go back to the 50 base speed Eiscue instead of the 130 base speed Eiscue. I do love though that it has decent coverage. I wish it had Earthquake. Earthquake would make it a lot better in the standard metagame just because of Aegislash and obviously being a stronger move versus Toxapex. That doesn't require contact, but again, this Pokemon can abuse Dynamax moves. Max Geyser from its Liquidation is incredibly strong, and same thing from its Shattered Psyche. It's not Shattered Psyche, that was the Z move, but it's Psychic type Dynamax move. Now the next set is kind of the exact same thing, but using Substitute plus Salic Berry. That way you can plus your speed. 130 base speed is amazing on No Ice, but there are Pokemon that do outspeed that. For example, a Choice Scarf Darmanitan would outspeed that at +1 regardless of how fast that speed is. So Salic Berry basically gets rid of that option. So the idea is to substitute first. I believe subbing first is the best play because, or at least going for belly drum. It doesn't matter. As long as you're in front of a physical attacker, it's okay. But substitute allows you to belly drum in the next turn and basically get your Salic Berry and have your +6 speed as well as your Salic Berry. And then you're abusing the Icicle Crash and Liquidation at +6, but also having that speed on the ideally no ice set. Again, be very careful with this Pokemon because if you do choose to Dynamax it and you go for your Max Hailstorm, I believe that's what it's called, it will bring you back to your Ice Face, basically the small penguin versus the big penguin. But, of course, if your Ice Face is broken again by a physical attack, then it doesn't matter because you'll obviously get the other penguin back. But again, you do set up Hail with that move, so be very careful that you want to set up Hail with that. And there, of course, there are defensive options for that. I was able to dance around a Galarian Darmanitan by using the Hail into setting up a substitute after, or something like that. It'll be on the screen as you guys will see. But yeah, this Pokemon definitely wants support. It really wants support for Aegislash, and also keep in mind that Ice Face, while it is a substitute for physical attacks, Special attacks literally just do damage. They do damage. It's not like Disguise. Don't mix it up with Mimikyu's Disguise, which will almost always protect you from an attack. Eiscue doesn't have a substitute. It's just a regular, it's a physical substitute. So if a Rotom Wash is going for a Hydro Pump and Eiscue is in the Eiscue form with the Ice Face up, it can still get hit by Hydro Pump and still be 2-hit KO'd. But you definitely want partners that can deal with Age Slash. You want partners that can deal with Rotom Wash, especially if you're not +6, and especially if it's a defensive one, because defensive Rotom Wash will easily be able to eat a +6 Zen Headbutt. That's something to keep in mind. And of course, if you're not running the Salac Berry set, you're going to be outsped by a Scarf Rotom Wash as well, which can Volt Switch on you for a 2-hit KO, depending on its special attack investment. And of course, if rocks were up. But those are some options for that as teammates. I definitely think that this Pokemon appreciates Sticky Web as well. If you want to use Sticky Web on the squad as well, that will allow Eiscue to not have to worry about using a Salac Berry, for instance, to boost its speed, but in turn allow it to outspeed for the most part of the Pokemon. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing, and just keep in mind that you can set up in front of a physical attacker as long as you're going to outspeed them after your Ice Face is broken. Do not set it up in front of a Pokemon like Galarian Darmanitan if you're not guaranteed to beat it after the trade is done. The last set we have, I think, is something that can work maybe in lower tiers, and that's an Aurora Veil set. Basically, you're taking advantage of the fact that Eiscue does learn Hail, and it does learn Aurora Veil, and Aurora Veil provides you with Light Screen and Reflect for 8 turns when you're paired with a Light Clay. And the idea behind this is just using it as a teammate to support other teammates in there. And of course, when you set up Hail and your Ice Face is broken, you get your Ice Face back. So that's pretty cool. And then you just have the Icicle Crash as your main move and Liquidation to hit the fire types that Icicle Crash will not hit against. This Pokemon has some decent moves also in its arsenal, but I'm not sure necessarily like if I'd go Ice Punch over Ice Crash, for instance, but it is an option if you do not want to miss, especially when you're at +6. But because this Pokemon is not that strong to begin with, I feel like that's not necessary. A few other options as well are Reversal, which can be used on a substitute Belly Drum set potentially if you get back down to 1 HP. To hit steel types, obviously harder than Liquidation would. And there's also Head Smash, which is a really interesting one, but you could use that to get yourself in Salac Berry range. Don't think I'd use that specifically. Icicle Spear is also an option over Ice Punch as well as Icicle Crash, and that's a pretty cool option to deal with like substitute Dragapult, for instance, or anything behind a sub. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm pretty excited to use Eiscue in a Pokemon Showdown Live. Of course, if you guys did enjoy, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.